one of the things that is hands down the most important thing for me is my relationship with God. If you can include God into your business, that's when I think it's a game changer for you. Our mission statement is all about giving back to the community, our vision and our mission. When I was in my 20s, I was actually a children's pastor. The pastor came on and he said, you should really tithe, and here's the whole reason why you should give 10%. And at the time, I was only working 20 hours a week. I made $9 an hour and as a youth pastor. And then I worked as a waitress part-time. I felt like I'd saying, just try it, give 10%. So I gave 10%. I didn't even have the money in my account at the time. I was like, well, you said test me, so I'll just give the money. And I went ahead and wrote the check knowing it was going to bounce. I think it was $30. That was it. I didn't even, at the time, no joke, did not have $30 in my account. I think I had like 15. The next day in my mailbox, I got a check for $300 from Dominion Power, because the way it works at Dominion Power, when you're young, you have to put a deposit down. But if you pay your bills every single month on time, you get that deposit back. Well, apparently it had been like several years that I paid it, and it was $300. That Monday, I put the money in the check on Sunday. Monday, I got the $300 back. No joke. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I listened to a podcast from Rick Warren, and the podcast was about how he lived on 10% of his income and gave 90% away. And he just increased 3% every single year. So he was just like, I'm going to start at 10, then go to 13, then 16. Then I was like kind of inspired by that. And I was like, I prayed about it. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to do that too. So every year I gave 10, then 13, then 16, then 19. This year, my goal is that at 54 years old, I will give 90% and live on 10%. And I don't know that I can do that this year. I'm at 76%. But it's gotten to the point where it's like really harder and harder and harder. Yeah. And that's another reason why I was like, I'm spending so much money on this business, and trying to remain profitable at the same time. And every time we're opening up another state, every time you open up another state, it was $4,000 for this and realtor dues and, every MLS costs another $4,000, so as you grow, it sounds good, but then you're just spending. So it was like, okay, yes, we're growing, but yet it doesn't matter if you're growing. What's the most important thing is how profitable that you're able to remain. So that's where I made the decision where it's like, okay, we don't want to just grow, but we want to be able to grow and also be profitable. And that's really important too. And so I'm at a place now in my life where, paid off our house, we've paid off our cars, everything is paid for. I really could retire right now and be completely in a great place. I have money making money. I'm okay. I don't need to make more money. But if I want to hit my goal of living on 10% of my income and giving 90% away, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but,
That's so generous.
I didn't tell anyone for 20 years. The only reason I tell anyone about that is because Rick Warren is the one who inspired me to do it. And if he never told anyone, and, I never told anyone for 20 years I was doing it. But if I never told anyone, then guess what? Nobody would ever be inspired to do what I'm doing. And I will tell you, it's going to make me tear up, because some days I'm like, I can't, maybe this isn't what God laid on my heart to do. You know what I mean? Like, maybe am I doing it because of ego or because of another reason? Like, I just sometimes I kind of am like, okay, maybe I just shouldn't do this anymore. Yeah. It's just too much, because it does add stress to me. You know what I mean? So, because it's like, you're not just making money. If you're giving that money away, it adds stress. And so I'm like, I don't want to add more stress to my life by feeling like I have to give this money away. And is this truly like something God's calling me to do? So I kind of go back and forth on that sometimes. And I don't know, because the most important thing I think is my relationship with God, but it's also your health as well. I did a couple shows on CBN about my story, and they said that people started, their amount of giving went up like by a massive amount because people were inspired by it. I was inspired by Rick Warren doing it. Hopefully someone doesn't think like, because like I said, I didn't tell anyone for 20 years. And I just finally kind of like, you know, just recently in the last, you know, 5 or 10 years or so, like finally said, okay, I'm going to share my story.
The fact that you're inspiring probably thousands, if not millions of people, like I feel like that's what matters.